Sweet Jesus. If I'd been drinking something stronger than coffee, I might have choked to passed right there in my garage. Photos, videos, messages that would make a sailor blush. My wife, the respected corporate attorney who wouldn't let me leave dishes in the sink overnight, was sending pictures of herself to some guy named Matt. And not just any pictures, the kind that would get you fired from most jobs and probably banned from several states. God, you're so much better than Jake, one message read. He doesn't even try anymore, just comes home, eats dinner, and falls asleep watching TV. Well, that stung. Sure, I wasn't exactly Romeo these days, but I'd been working 60-hour weeks trying to keep our finances afloat while she played courtroom warrior. Apparently, my efforts to be a responsible adult were less appealing than whatever this Matt character was offering. I scrolled through weeks of messages, each one twisting the knife a little deeper. They had pet names for each other, inside jokes, plans to meet at his apartment while I was at work. She even complained about having to pretend to be happy when she came home to me. The garage suddenly felt too small, too quiet except for the hum of fluorescent lights and the distant sound of our neighbor's dog barking. I'd built this space as my sanctuary, filled with half-finished projects and tools that actually made sense, unlike the rest of my life. Now it felt like a crime scene where I'd just discovered my own murder. My phone buzzed. A text from Sam. Working late again. Don't wait up. Love you. Love you. Right. I looked at the timestamp on her last message to Matt, sent 3 minutes ago. Just told the husband I'm working late. See you in 20, stud. That's when something cold and calculating settled in my chest, right where the hurt had been burning a moment before. Sam thought she was so smart, so careful, so much better than her blue-collar husband who fixed other people's broken things for a living. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated exactly how good I was at taking things apart. I screenshot everything. Every message, every photo, every casual insult about our marriage. My hands were steady as I worked, methodical, like I was documenting evidence for one of her legal cases. Because in a way, I was. This was evidence, all right. Evidence that the woman sleeping in my bed, eating food I paid for, living in a house with my name on the mortgage, had been playing me for a fool. The iPad chimed again. A new message from Matt. Your husband seems like a loser. When are you going to leave him? Sam's response came fast. Soon, just need to figure out the finances. He makes decent money with his little repair shop, but I'll need alimony to maintain my lifestyle. My lawyer says I can probably get the house too if I play it right. Her lawyer. She was already talking to a lawyer. While I was home thinking we were just going through a rough patch, she was planning my financial execution with the same cold precision she used to destroy witnesses in court. I sat back in my creaky desk chair, looking around at my workshop. Shelves lined with components and circuit boards, a workbench scarred from years of use, tools arranged with the kind of obsessive precision that comes from actually caring about your craft. This wasn't just where I worked. This was who I was, a guy who fixed things, who took broken pieces and made them whole again. But some things, once you take them apart, can't be put back together the same way. And maybe that's not always a bad thing. My phone rang. Sam, probably calling to add more lies to her story about working late. I let it go to voicemail, then played the message back. Hey, babe. Just wanted to hear your voice before I dive into these depositions. I know I've been distant lately, but work's been crazy. I love you, Jake. See you in the morning. The performance was flawless. If I hadn't just read her real thoughts about our marriage, I might have actually felt guilty for doubting her. She was good. I'd give her that. 18 years of marriage had taught her exactly which buttons to push, exactly how to sound like the devoted wife who was just working hard to build our future together. Too bad for her that I'd always been better with technology than she was. I opened my laptop and started typing. If Sam wanted to play games, she'd picked the wrong opponent. She might have the law degree and the fancy office, but I had something she'd forgotten about. I was the guy who set up all our accounts, who managed our digital life, who knew every password and security question because she was always too busy to deal with technical stuff. Time to remind her exactly who she was dealing with. The next morning, Sam kissed me goodbye like she had every day for the past 5 years. A quick peck on the cheek while I drank coffee and pretended to read the news on my phone. She was dressed in her power suit, the navy blue one that cost more than most people's monthly rent, her hair pulled back in that severe bun that meant she was going to destroy someone in court today. "Have a good day, honey," she said, grabbing her briefcase and heading for the door. "I might be late again tonight. Big case." "Sure thing," I replied, not looking up from my phone. "I'll probably be in the shop if you need me." She paused at the door, and for a second, I thought maybe she was going to say something real, something honest. Instead, she just smiled that practiced smile and left. I waited exactly 10 minutes after her car pulled out of the driveway before I got to work. First stop, our shared phone account. Sam had no idea I could access her location data, her call logs, her text messages. She thought technology was magic, something that just worked without any understanding of how or why. That ignorance was about to cost her dearly. Her phone was currently at Pinnacle Fitness on 5th Street, not her law office, not even close to her law office. I pulled up the gym's website and there he was, smiling at me from the Meet Our Trainers page. Matt Davidson, 32, certified personal trainer and apparently certified homewrecker. The bio mentioned his holistic approach to fitness and his dedication to helping clients achieve their personal best. I'm sure he was dedicated, all right. A quick social media search revealed more than I needed to know about Matt Davidson. Instagram full of shirtless selfies and motivational quotes about living your best life. Facebook posts about his side business selling cryptocurrency investment advice. LinkedIn profile claiming he was a fitness entrepreneur and lifestyle consultant. The guy was a walking cliche, right down to the tribal tattoo on his shoulder and the sports car he probably couldn't afford. This was what my wife was throwing away 18 years of marriage for. A muscle-bound idiot who used your and your interchangeably and thought posting gym selfies counted as a personality. I dug deeper. Public records showed Matt rented his apartment, not owned it like he claimed online. His business license for the crypto consulting was 6 months old, which meant he was basically running a pyramid scheme out of his gym locker. 3 years ago, he'd been sued by an ex-girlfriend for harassment, though the case was dismissed. The guy was a fraud from top to bottom, but apparently that was exactly what my wife was looking for. My phone rang. Frankie Kowalski, my oldest friend and the owner of Murphy's Bar, the kind of place where everyone knew your name and your business, whether you wanted them to or not. "Jake, you busy? Need you to take a look at my register. Things been acting up all morning." "Be right there," I said. Frankie's Bar was exactly what I needed right now. Somewhere to think, somewhere to plan, somewhere to drink coffee that tasted like it was brewed in a mechanic's shop and talk to someone who understood that loyalty actually meant something. Murphy's hadn't changed in the 20 years since Frankie bought it from the original Murphy's widow. Dark wood, dim lighting, the kind of place where construction workers grabbed beers after their shifts, and nobody bothered you if you wanted to sit quietly and think. Frankie was behind the bar, glaring at the ancient cash register like it had personally insulted his mother. "Piece of junk's been freezing up every time I try to run a credit card," he said as I walked in. "I swear technology's going to be the death of small business." I popped open the register's case and immediately saw the problem. A loose connection that probably dated back to the Clinton administration. "When's the last time you had this thing serviced?" "Serviced? Hell, I don't even remember when I bought it." As I worked, Frankie poured me a coffee without being asked. We'd known each other since high school, back when he was planning to be a cop and I was going to be an electrical engineer. Life had other plans for both of us, but some friendships survive even when your dreams don't. "You look like hell," he said, leaning against the bar. "Everything okay at home?" That was Frankie, straight to the point, no dancing around. It's why he'd been a good cop for 15 years, before he decided he'd rather serve drinks than serve warrants. It's also why he was exactly the person I needed to talk to right now. "Sam's cheating on me," I said, not looking up from the register. "Found out last night." Frankie was quiet for a long moment. Then, "You sure?" I pulled out my phone and showed him some of the screenshots I'd taken. Not the explicit ones. Even betrayed husbands have standards, but enough to make the situation clear. "Jesus, Jake, I'm sorry." He poured himself a coffee, which meant this conversation was about to get serious. Frankie only drank coffee when he was thinking like a cop. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet," I said, though that wasn't entirely true. Ideas were already forming, plans taking shape in the back of my mind. "She thinks I'm stupid, Frankie. 18 years of marriage, and she thinks I'm too dumb to notice what's happening right under my nose. Maybe she'll come to her senses. Maybe it's just a midlife crisis thing." I showed him another screenshot, the one where she talked about already consulting a divorce lawyer. Frankie's expression darkened as he read. "Okay, forget what I said about her coming to her senses." He set down his coffee cup harder than necessary. "That's cold, Jake. Planning to take you to the cleaners while she's screwing around behind your back." "She's got it all figured out," I said, closing up the register and testing it. The screen lit up properly, no more freezing. "Alimony, the house, probably half my business. She's going to destroy my life and then move in with her boy toy." "Not if you get there first." I looked up at him. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you've got evidence. You've got proof she's cheating, proof she's planning to screw you over financially. Any decent lawyer could use that to protect your assets." "Sam is a decent lawyer, Frankie. She knows exactly how to play the system." "Then don't play by the system." He leaned forward, and I could see the ex-cop in his eyes. "Look, I'm not saying do anything illegal, but there are other ways to fight back, ways that don't involve courtrooms and lawyers." The register beeped successfully as I ran a test transaction. Fixed. Just like that. If only marriages were as easy to repair as electronic equipment. Such as? Such as making sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person she really is. Such as making sure her boyfriend understands that actions have consequences. Such as reminding your wife that she's not the only one who knows how to play games. I packed up my tools, thinking about what Frankie had said. Sam had spent our entire marriage making me feel like I was the lucky one, like I should be grateful that someone as smart and successful as her had settled for someone like me. But maybe it was time to remind her that I had skills too. Different skills, but useful ones. "The register's fixed," I said. "No charge." "Jake." Frankie's voice stopped me at the door. "Whatever you decide to do, you've got friends, remember that." I nodded and walked out into the afternoon sun, my mind already working on the problem like it was a broken circuit board. Every system had vulnerabilities, every network had weak points. Sam thought she was so smart, so careful, so much better than me. Time to show her what happened when you underestimated the guy who actually understood how things worked. That evening, I sat in my workshop pretending to repair a tablet, while Sam moved around upstairs, getting ready for another late night at the office. I could hear her in the shower, humming some song I didn't recognize, probably something her boy toy had introduced her to. The sound made my skin crawl. She came downstairs 20 minutes later, dressed in a black dress that definitely wasn't office attire unless her office had started hosting cocktail parties. Her makeup was perfect, her hair styled in loose waves instead of her usual professional bun. She looked beautiful, I had to admit. She also looked like she was going on a date. "Working late again?" I asked, not looking up from the tablet. "Unfortunately, yes. This case is really heating up." She grabbed her purse and keys, the same routine as always. "Don't wait up." "Have fun," I said, and she actually flinched. Good. Maybe some part of her guilty conscience was still functioning. After her car disappeared down the street, I gave it another 10 minutes before I made my move. Sam thought she was so clever, but she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd forgotten that I was the one who set up all our smart home devices, our security system, our shared accounts. She'd forgotten that in the digital age, privacy was an illusion, and I was the one who maintained that illusion for our family. First, I changed all the passwords. Every streaming service, every utility account, every subscription she used. Not to lock her out completely, that would be too obvious, but to make her life just a little bit more complicated. She'd have to call customer service, reset passwords, prove her identity. Death by 1,000 digital paper cuts. Next, I accessed our cell phone account and added a new feature to her line. Detailed usage reports sent directly to my email. Every call, every text, every app she used, I'd know about it. Sam had always been careless about technology, assuming it would just work without her having to understand it. That carelessness was about to become very expensive. But the real masterstroke was simpler than any of that. I opened Facebook and created a fake account. Jennifer Walsh, recently divorced, new to the area, looking to make friends. I used a stock photo of an attractive woman in her 30s and spent an hour crafting a believable backstory. Then I sent a friend request to Matt Davidson. He accepted within 5 minutes. Typical. I spent the next hour scrolling through his social media, learning everything I could about my wife's boyfriend. His habits, his friends, his weaknesses. The guy was an open book, posting every detail of his life online like he was running for mayor of Instagram. He checked in at restaurants, tagged his location at the gym, shared his workout schedule, even posted photos of his apartment complex. For someone who was supposedly having a secret affair, he had terrible operational security. My phone buzzed with a text from Sam. Going to be really late tonight. Big breakthrough in the case. Love you. I checked her location, still at Matt's apartment, same as she'd been for the past 3 hours, some breakthrough. I texted back, no problem, I'll be in the shop if you need me. Then I got to work on phase 2 of my plan. Matt's social media revealed that he was obsessed with his image, his reputation, his carefully crafted persona as a successful fitness entrepreneur. He posted motivational quotes daily, shared client transformation photos, and constantly promoted his cryptocurrency investment seminars. His entire business model was built on trust, on people believing he was successful and knowledgeable. That gave me an idea. Using my Jennifer Walsh account, I started engaging with his posts, asking questions about his investment advice, commenting on his workout tips, building a rapport. Within an hour, he was sliding into my DMs, offering to set up a personal consultation to discuss my fitness and financial goals. The guy was shameless. While he was sleeping with my wife, he was trying to pick up other women online. I almost felt sorry for Sam. She thought she was special, but she was just another mark in Matt's endless rotation of targets. But two could play that game. I spent the next hour crafting the perfect response, playing the part of a lonely divorcee who was impressed by his success and interested in his services. I asked about his credentials, his track record, his investment strategy. Matt, eager to impress his potential new client, started sharing details about his business that would have made any legitimate financial advisor cringe. Turns out his cryptocurrency consulting was exactly what I'd suspected, a barely legal pyramid scheme that relied on recruiting new investors to pay returns to existing ones. He was running seminars in hotel conference rooms, charging people $500 to learn his secret system, then selling them overpriced courses and coaching packages. The whole operation was one regulatory complaint away from being shut down. Even better, he was bragging about it. Screenshots of his bank account, photos of cash stacks, testimonials from successful students who were probably just other scammers in his network. The guy was documenting his own fraud and posting it online for anyone to see. I saved everything, every screenshot, every conversation, every piece of evidence that Matt Davidson was running a con game. Then I did some research into cryptocurrency regulations, consumer protection laws, and business licensing requirements. Matt wasn't just a homewrecker and a fraud. He was a sloppy fraud who'd left a paper trail that led directly back to him. My phone rang. Sam, probably calling to add more lies to her story. "Hey, babe," she said, and I could hear music in the background. "Just wanted to check in. This case is really kicking my ass, but I think we're making progress." "That's great, honey. You sound tired." "I am. Probably going to crash at the office tonight instead of driving home. Don't want to wake you up." Crash at the office. Right. According to her location data, she was at a restaurant downtown, probably having a romantic dinner with her boy toy. "That's fine," I said. "Get some rest. I love you." "I love you too, Jake. See you tomorrow." She hung up, and I stared at my phone for a long moment. 18 years of marriage, and she could lie to me that easily, that casually, like I was just another client she was manipulating, another mark in her long con. But Sam had made one crucial mistake. She'd forgotten that I wasn't just some random victim she could steamroll in court. I was her husband. I knew her better than anyone, knew her weaknesses, her insecurities, her fears. And unlike her, I actually understood how the modern world worked, how information flowed, how reputations were built and destroyed. She wanted to play games? Fine, but she'd picked the wrong opponent. I opened my laptop and started typing. If Sam thought she could destroy my life without consequences, she was about to learn exactly how wrong she was. And if Matt thought he could steal my wife and walk away clean, he was about to discover that some husbands don't go quietly into the night. Time to remind them both that I wasn't just the guy who fixed broken things. Sometimes, I was the guy who broke things that needed breaking. The next morning, I decided to take a more direct approach to my investigation. Sam had left early for her important deposition, which according to her phone's GPS was actually a yoga class at Pinnacle Fitness. The woman was getting sloppy, probably drunk on the excitement of her secret affair. That sloppiness was going to be her downfall. I drove to the gym and parked across the street, feeling like a private investigator in a bad movie. The building was one of those trendy fitness centers that charge twice as much as a regular gym because they had eucalyptus towels and kombucha on tap. The kind of place that attracted people more interested in being seen working out than actually working out. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see Sam on a yoga mat, wearing expensive workout clothes that still had the tags on them when I'd seen them in our closet last week. She was in the front row, positioned perfectly for the instructor to notice her. And sure enough, there was Matt, adjusting her pose with his hands lingering just a little too long on her hips. The sight made my stomach turn, but I forced myself to keep watching. This wasn't about emotion anymore. This was about gathering intelligence, understanding the enemy, learning their patterns and weaknesses. After the class, I watched Sam and Matt have what looked like a casual conversation near the juice bar. To anyone else, they probably looked like a trainer and client discussing workout routines. But I could see the way she touched his arm when she laughed, the way he leaned in close when he talked to her, the way they looked at each other when they thought no one was watching. They were good at the public charade, I'd give them that. But they weren't good enough. I followed Sam's car as she left the gym, expecting her to go home or to her actual office. Instead, she drove to Nordstrom and spent 2 hours shopping for clothes that definitely weren't in our budget. I watched through the store windows as she tried on dresses, lingerie, expensive shoes. She was building a new wardrobe for her new life, spending our money to impress her boyfriend. That's when I realized this wasn't just an affair. It was a complete betrayal of everything we'd built together. She wasn't just cheating on me. She was systematically dismantling our marriage while pretending everything was normal. My phone buzzed with a text from her. "Deposition's running long. Grab dinner without me." I looked up and saw her through the store window, holding up a red dress that cost more than most people's mortgage payments. The lie came so easily to her, so naturally, that I wondered how long she'd been practicing this level of deception. I drove home and spent the afternoon doing something I'd never thought I'd have to do, investigating my own wife like she was a criminal. But then again, maybe she was. Adultery might not be a felony, but what she was doing to our finances certainly felt like theft. I pulled up our bank statements and credit card records, looking for patterns I'd missed. There they were, hidden in plain sight. Charges at expensive restaurants on days when she claimed to be working late. Hotel bookings in the city when she said she was at conferences. Purchases at Victoria's Secret and La Perla. Lingerie I'd never seen her wear. She'd been planning this for months, maybe longer. While I was working 60-hour weeks to keep us financially stable, she was spending our money to fund her affair. While I was coming home exhausted and trying to be a good husband, she was texting her boyfriend about how boring and pathetic I was. The worst part was how stupid I'd been. All the signs were there. The late nights, the new clothes, the sudden interest in fitness, the way she'd started picking fights over nothing. I'd attributed it all to work stress, midlife changes, the normal ups and downs of a long marriage. I'd been so focused on being understanding and supportive that I'd missed the obvious truth. My wife didn't love me anymore. Maybe she never had. I was still sitting at my desk, staring at months of evidence of my wife's betrayal when my daughter Emily came home from school. She was 17, sharp as a tack, and had inherited her mother's ability to read people like books. She also had her generation's instinctive understanding of social media and digital communication, which made her a valuable ally in ways she probably didn't realize yet. "Dad, you okay?" She dropped her backpack by the door and looked at me with concern. "You look like someone died." "Just tired, sweetheart. How was school?" "Boring, same as always." She grabbed a soda from the fridge and sat down across from me. "Where's Mom? Her car's not in the driveway." "Working late, again." Emily made a face. "She's been doing that a lot lately. Like, a lot. Jenny's mom is a lawyer too, and she doesn't work this many late nights." Out of the mouths of babes. Even our teenager had noticed that something was wrong with Sam's schedule. "People have different jobs, different pressures," I said, though the words tasted like ash in my mouth. "I guess." Emily studied my face with those sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Dad, are you and Mom having problems?" The question hit me like a punch to the gut. I wanted to protect her from the truth, to maintain the illusion of our happy family for as long as possible. But Emily was 17, not 7. She deserved honesty, or at least as much honesty as I could give her. "Why do you ask?" "Because you guys barely talk anymore. Because Mom's never home. Because when she is home, she spends all her time on her phone texting someone." Emily took a sip of her soda and fixed me with a stare that reminded me uncomfortably of her mother. "And because you've been acting weird for the past few days. Like, really weird." I made a decision that would change everything. "Emily, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me." "Okay. Have you noticed anything strange about your mother's behavior lately? Anything that seemed off to you?" Emily was quiet for a long moment, and I could see her internal struggle. Loyalty to her mother versus honesty with her father. Finally, she sighed. "She's been getting a lot of texts, like constantly, and she always hides her phone when I'm around. Last week, I heard her talking to someone on the phone in her room, and she was laughing in this weird way, like flirty laughing." My heart sank. If Emily had noticed, then Sam was being even more careless than I'd thought. "And yesterday," Emily continued, "I saw her coming out of that fancy gym downtown when I was walking home from school, but she told us she was in court all day." "What did you think about that?" "I thought maybe she was trying to get in shape to surprise you or something, but then I saw her talking to this guy and—" Emily trailed off, looking uncomfortable. "And what?" "And they looked really friendly, like more than trainer and client friendly." I reached across the table and took my daughter's hand. "Emily, I'm going to tell you something, and it's going to be hard to hear, but I think you're old enough to know the truth." She squeezed my hand. "Mom's cheating on you." It wasn't a question. My 17-year-old daughter had figured out what I'd been too blind to see for months. Yes, I said. She is. Emily was quiet for a long moment, processing the confirmation of what she'd already suspected. When she looked up at me, her eyes were bright with unshed tears. I'm sorry, Dad. That really sucks. Yeah, it does. What are you going to do? That was the question, wasn't it? What was I going to do? I could confront Sam directly, demand an explanation, try to work things out through counseling and conversation. I could file for divorce and hope for the best in court. I could pretend I didn't know and let her continue her charade until she was ready to leave me. Or I could do something else entirely. Something that would remind Sam and her boyfriend that actions have consequences, that you can't just destroy someone's life without expecting them to fight back. I'm going to make sure your mother understands exactly what she's throwing away, I said. And I'm going to make sure her boyfriend understands that there are consequences for breaking up families. Emily studied my face with those sharp eyes. Dad, you're not going to do anything crazy, are you? Define crazy. Like illegal crazy. Like end up on the news crazy. I smiled, and for the first time in days, it felt genuine. No, sweetheart. I'm not going to do anything illegal. But I am going to remind some people that I'm not as stupid or helpless as they think I am. Good, Emily said firmly. Mom's being a witch, and her boyfriend sounds like a loser. They deserve whatever's coming to them. I squeezed her hand. Language, Em. Sorry, but I'm not wrong. No, she wasn't wrong at all. The next phase of my plan required patience and precision. Sam thought she was so clever, so careful, but she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated the man she'd been living with for 18 years. She'd forgotten that I wasn't just some random victim she could manipulate and discard. I was someone who knew her intimately, someone who understood her weaknesses and fears, someone who had access to every aspect of her carefully constructed life. I started small, nothing dramatic, nothing that would tip her off to what was coming. Just little inconveniences, minor disruptions to the perfect life she was building with my money and behind my back. First, I called our credit card company and reported suspicious activity on our account. Not fraud, exactly, just concerns about some unusual charges. The helpful customer service representative immediately put a hold on the card pending investigation. Sam would discover this the next time she tried to buy lingerie for her boyfriend or pay for another romantic dinner. Next, I contacted our internet provider and reported intermittent connectivity issues at our home. The technician who came out, a guy I'd known for years through my repair business, was happy to help me troubleshoot the problem by installing a new router with some very specific monitoring capabilities. Now I could track every device that connected to our home network, every website visited, every app used. Sam's laptop, it turned out, was a treasure trove of incriminating evidence. She'd been sloppy about her digital security, saving passwords in her browser, keeping chat logs, storing photos and videos that would make a divorce attorney's eyes light up with dollar signs. But I wasn't interested in a traditional divorce. That would just be another arena where Sam could use her legal training to destroy me. No, I had something much more creative in mind. I spent the evening researching Matt Davidson's business practices, using the Jennifer Walsh account to gather more information about his cryptocurrency scam. The guy was running seminars every weekend, charging desperate people hundreds of dollars to learn his secret system for getting rich quick. His social media was full of testimonials from successful students who were clearly fake accounts, stock photos paired with made-up success stories. But the real gold mine was his tax situation. A quick search of public records showed that Matt had been claiming his apartment rent as a business expense, listing it as his corporate headquarters. He was also claiming his car payments, his gym membership, even his protein supplements as business deductions. The guy was committing tax fraud so blatantly that it was almost insulting to actual criminals. I compiled everything into a neat little package and saved it for later. Matt Davidson was going to learn that there were consequences for breaking up families, but I wanted to time it perfectly for maximum impact. My phone rang. Frankie, probably calling to check on me. "How's it going, Jake? You doing okay?" "Better than okay," I said. "I'm actually starting to enjoy myself." "That sounds ominous. What are you up to?" "Just gathering information, learning about my wife's new boyfriend, making some plans." "Jake, I know you're hurt, but don't do anything stupid. Sam's not worth going to jail over." "Relax, Frankie. I'm not going to hurt anyone. I'm just going to remind some people that actions have consequences." "What kind of consequences?" I told him about Matt's tax fraud, his fake business credentials, his cryptocurrency scam. Frankie whistled low. "Jesus, Jake, this guy's a walking crime spree. You could probably get him arrested just by making a few phone calls." "I could," I said, "but that would be too easy. I want him to understand exactly why his life is falling apart. I want him to know that he picked the wrong family to mess with." "And Sam?" "Sam's going to learn that she's not as smart as she thinks she is. She's going to learn that 18 years of marriage means I know exactly which buttons to push, exactly how to hurt her, where it counts most." Frankie was quiet for a moment. "You sure about this, Jake? Once you start down this road, there's no going back." "There's already no going back, Frankie. She made that choice when she decided to cheat on me. She made that choice when she started planning to take me to the cleaners in divorce court. I'm just responding in kind." "All right, but if you need backup, you call me. Understood?" "Understood." After I hung up, I sat in my workshop and thought about what came next. Sam was at another late night at the office, which according to her phone's GPS was actually Matt's apartment. They were probably planning their future together, figuring out how to divide up my assets, laughing about how clueless I was. Let them laugh. They'd earned it. But laughter had a way of turning into tears pretty quickly when the right pressure was applied in the right places. I opened my laptop and started typing. If Sam wanted to play games, I was going to show her what a real game looked like. If Matt wanted to steal my wife, he was going to learn that some prizes came with a very high price tag. Time to remind them both that I wasn't just the guy who fixed broken things. Sometimes I was the guy who broke things that needed breaking, and right now, their perfect little fantasy needed breaking more than anything else in the world. 3 weeks into my investigation, I finally had enough evidence to fill a small library. Sam's affair wasn't just ongoing, it was escalating. She'd started spending entire nights at Matt's apartment, telling me she was staying at hotels near the courthouse for early morning hearings. She'd opened a separate credit card I wasn't supposed to know about, funded by cash advances from our joint account. She was systematically moving money around, preparing for what she clearly thought would be an uncontested divorce, where I'd be too heartbroken and stupid to fight back. The final straw came on a Thursday evening when I overheard her on the phone in our bedroom, door closed, voice low and intimate. "I know, baby, but it's only temporary," she was saying. "Jake's so pathetic, he'll probably just roll over and give me whatever I want. Then we can be together properly." Baby. She was calling him baby while sitting in the bed we'd shared for 18 years. His little repair shop makes decent money, and with alimony, I'll be fine until I can find a better position. Maybe we can even buy that condo you showed me. That condo. They were already shopping for real estate together, planning their future with my money while I slept downstairs on the couch, because she claimed I was snoring too loudly. I'd heard enough. It was time to stop gathering intelligence and start taking action. The next morning, Sam left for her deposition, actually a couple's massage appointment with Matt. I'd seen the confirmation email. I waited until her car was out of sight, then I made my move. First, I drove to Matt's gym. Pinnacle Fitness was busy with the morning crowd, lots of people in expensive workout clothes pretending to care about their health while actually caring about their appearance. I walked up to the front desk like I belonged there. "Excuse me," I said to the young woman behind the counter. I'm looking for Matt Davidson. I'm interested in his personal training services. Oh, Matt's with a client right now, she said, gesturing toward the yoga studio where I could see him and Sam in what was supposed to be a private session, but looked more like foreplay with stretching involved. That's okay. I'll wait, I said, settling into a chair with a perfect view of the studio. I watched my wife of 18 years giggle like a teenager as her boyfriend adjusted her warrior pose, his hands lingering on her body in ways that had nothing to do with proper form. She was wearing new workout clothes again, a matching set that probably cost more than most people spent on groceries in a month. When their session ended, I watched them have their usual post-workout conversation at the juice bar. Same routine as always, casual touches, lingering looks, the careful dance of two people trying to look innocent while being anything but. Sam left first, probably heading home to shower off the evidence of her morning activities. Matt stayed behind, chatting with other trainers, checking his phone, living his best life as a homewrecker and part-time con artist. I waited until he was alone, then approached him directly. Matt Davidson? He looked up from his phone, sizing me up with the casual arrogance of a man who thought he was untouchable. Yeah, that's me. You interested in training? Not exactly, I said. I'm Jake Morrison, Sam's husband. The color drained from his face so fast I thought he might pass out. To his credit, he recovered quickly, putting on a confused expression that might have fooled someone who didn't know what I knew. I'm sorry. I don't think I know any Sam. I pulled out my phone and showed him one of the screenshots from their text conversation, the one where she was complaining about having to pretend to be happy with her pathetic husband. Really? Because she seems to know you pretty well. Matt's fake confusion evaporated, replaced by the kind of aggressive defensiveness that weak men always defaulted to when they were caught. Look, man, I don't know what you think you know, but I know everything, I said calmly. I know about your cryptocurrency scam. I know about your tax fraud. I know about your fake business credentials. I know about the 3 other married women you're currently texting. I know about your unpaid child support from your ex in Phoenix. Should I continue? His mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. The guy had probably never encountered anyone who'd done actual research before confronting him. What do you want? He finally managed. I want you to understand something very clearly, I said, stepping closer. You picked the wrong family to mess with. You thought you were dealing with some clueless suburban husband who'd just roll over and take it. You were wrong. Are you threatening me? I'm educating you, I said. See, the thing about having an affair with a married woman is that there are always consequences. Sometimes those consequences come from the husband. Sometimes they come from the wife when she realizes her boyfriend is a fraud. And sometimes they come from the IRS when they get an anonymous tip about someone claiming their apartment rent as a business expense. Matt's face went white again. You can't. I can, I said. I have copies of everything. Your tax returns, your business filings, your social media posts bragging about income that doesn't match what you report to the government. I have screenshots of your fake testimonials, recordings of your investment seminars, documentation of every lie you've told to every desperate person you've scammed. I leaned in close enough that he could smell my coffee breath. I also have video of you and my wife in this gym, photos of you at restaurants, hotel receipts, credit card records, and enough evidence to bury you in both civil and criminal court. The only question is what I decide to do with all that information. What do you want? He repeated, and this time his voice was barely a whisper. I want you to disappear, I said. I want you to end whatever this is with my wife, delete her number from your phone and pretend she never existed. I want you to find a new gym, a new city, a new life that doesn't involve destroying families. And if I don't? I smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. Then you'll discover that I'm much better at destroying lives than you are at building fake ones. I left him standing there, pale and shaking, probably wondering how his perfect scam had suddenly turned into a nightmare. The truth was, guys like Matt were always cowards at heart. They preyed on lonely people and broken families because they thought there would be no consequences, no one to fight back. But when someone actually stood up to them, when someone showed them that they weren't as smart or untouchable as they thought, they folded like cheap suits. Now it was time for the main event. Time to have a conversation with my wife. I got home before Sam, which gave me time to prepare for what was going to be the most important conversation of my marriage. I set up my laptop in the living room, opened all the files I'd compiled over the past few weeks, and waited. She walked in at 6:30, looking flushed and happy in a way I hadn't seen in years. Her hair was perfectly styled, her makeup fresh, her clothes expensive and new. She looked like a woman in love, which would have been wonderful if she'd been in love with her husband. "Hey, babe," she said, dropping her purse on the kitchen counter. "How was your day?" "Interesting," I said. "How was yours? Court go well?" "Oh, same old stuff. Depositions, paperwork, the usual." She opened the refrigerator and pulled out a bottle of wine, something French and expensive that I didn't remember buying. "Want a glass?" "Sure," I said. "We need to talk anyway." Something in my tone must have alerted her because she paused with the wine bottle halfway to the opener. "Talk about what?" "About your boyfriend." The bottle slipped from her hands and shattered on the kitchen floor, red wine spreading across the white tiles like blood. Sam stared at the mess for a long moment, then looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Caught. Desperate. Calculating. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, but her voice was shaking. I turned my laptop screen toward her. The display showed a slideshow of evidence: photos, text messages, credit card receipts, hotel bookings, GPS data from her phone. 18 years of marriage had taught me exactly how to present information for maximum impact, and Sam's legal training had taught her exactly how damning the evidence was. She sank into a chair, wine forgotten, staring at the screen like it was showing her own execution. "How long have you known?" she asked finally. "About 3 weeks. Though apparently I should have figured it out months ago according to our 17-year-old daughter." Sam's head snapped up. "Emily knows?" "Emily's not stupid, Sam. Neither am I, despite what you and your boyfriend think." "Jake, I can explain." "Can you?" I clicked to the next slide, showing her text messages about how pathetic and boring I was, how she couldn't wait to take me to the cleaners in divorce court. "Can you explain this? Or this?" More slides, more evidence, more proof of her betrayal. "Or maybe you can explain this one, where you're planning to use my money to buy a condo with your personal trainer boyfriend." Sam's face crumpled, and for a moment she looked like the woman I'd fallen in love with 20 years ago. Vulnerable, human, capable of feeling shame. Then the moment passed, and the lawyer kicked in. "Jake, I know this looks bad, but you have to understand." "I understand perfectly," I said. "I understand that you've been cheating on me for months. I understand that you've been stealing money from our joint accounts to fund your affair. I understand that you've been planning to divorce me and take everything we've built together. What I don't understand is why you thought I'd just let you do it." "Let me do what?" "Destroy my life without consequences." Sam's eyes narrowed, and I could see her shifting into courtroom mode, preparing to argue her case. "Jake, be reasonable. We haven't been happy for years. We're like roommates, not husband and wife. Maybe this is just the push we needed to finally admit that our marriage is over." "Our marriage might be over," I said, "but that doesn't mean you get to walk away clean." "What's that supposed to mean?" I clicked to a new slide, this one showing financial records, asset valuations, business documentation. "It means I've been doing some research into divorce law, Sam. Turns out that adultery still matters in this state, especially when it comes to asset division. Turns out that judges don't look kindly on spouses who drain joint accounts to fund extramarital affairs." Sam's lawyer instincts were kicking in now, and I could see her mind racing through the implications. You can't prove. I can prove everything, I said. I have documentation of every lie, every stolen dollar, every night you spent with him while telling me you were working late. I have enough evidence to make sure you walk away from this marriage with exactly what you deserve. Nothing. You bastard, she whispered. I learned from the best, I said. But here's the thing, Sam. I'm not interested in a long, drawn-out court battle. I'm not interested in spending the next 2 years fighting over who gets the couch and who pays the lawyer bills. Then what do you want? I want you to understand that actions have consequences. I want you to understand that you can't just destroy someone's life and walk away laughing. I want you to understand that I'm not the pathetic, clueless husband you thought you married. Sam stood up, glass crunching under her expensive shoes, wine staining the hem of her dress. Fine. You want a divorce? You'll get a divorce. But don't think you're going to intimidate me with your little slideshow. I'm a lawyer, Jake. I know how these things work. So do I said, which is why I've already filed. The words hit her like a physical blow. You what? I filed for divorce this morning, irreconcilable differences, with a request for an immediate restraining order preventing you from accessing our joint accounts or disposing of marital assets. My lawyer says it's a pretty standard request when one spouse is systematically looting the marriage to fund an extramarital affair. Sam's face went through several colors before settling on a shade of pale that matched the wine stains on her dress. You can't do that. Already did. You'll be served tomorrow morning. Oh, and Sam? You might want to find a new lawyer. I don't think your current firm is going to be comfortable representing you once they see all this evidence. Something about maintaining their reputation and avoiding conflicts of interest. You're destroying my career. I'm protecting myself from someone who was planning to destroy my life. There's a difference. Sam stared at me for a long moment, and I could see her realizing that the man she'd been married to for 18 years wasn't the pushover she'd thought he was, that the guy who fixed broken electronics for a living was perfectly capable of breaking other things when necessary. What about Emily? She asked finally. Emily's 17, Sam. Old enough to choose which parent she wants to live with. Old enough to understand why someone might not want to live with a mother who lies, cheats, and steals from her own family. She'll never forgive you for this. She already knows about your affair. She figured it out weeks ago, just like I did. The only difference is that she's disappointed in you, not surprised by you. Sam picked up her purse, her hands shaking. I need to call my lawyer. Good luck with that, I said. But Sam, next time you decide to cheat on your husband, maybe don't do it with a con artist who's committing tax fraud. Makes the whole thing a lot messier than it needs to be. She stopped at the door. What did you do to Matt? Nothing illegal, I said. But I did have an interesting conversation with him this morning. Something tells me he's going to be too busy dealing with his own problems to worry about playing house with married women. Sam left without another word, and I sat in the living room listening to her car speed away into the night. The house felt different somehow, like a weight had been lifted, like I could finally breathe again. My phone rang. Emily, probably calling to check on me. Dad, I heard Mom leave. Everything okay? Everything's fine, sweetheart. Better than fine, actually. She knows you know? She knows. Good, Emily said firmly. It's about time someone called her out on her bullshit. Language, Em. Sorry, but I'm not wrong. No, she wasn't wrong at all. And for the first time in months, I felt like maybe everything was going to be okay after all. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of legal papers, heated phone calls, and the kind of domestic drama that makes neighbors peek through their curtains and whisper at the grocery store. Sam had found herself a new lawyer, a shark from downtown who specialized in high-conflict divorces and had a reputation for playing dirty. But even sharks need something to work with, and Sam's case was weaker than a house of cards in a hurricane. The restraining order had frozen her access to our joint accounts, which meant she was suddenly living on her actual salary instead of the inflated lifestyle she'd been funding with our shared resources. Her credit cards were maxed out from months of affair-related expenses, and her new lawyer wanted a substantial retainer that she couldn't afford. Meanwhile, Matt Davidson had apparently taken my advice about finding a new city. According to my sources, Frankie had friends everywhere. He'd left town 3 days after our conversation, citing family emergency to his gym manager and disappearing without forwarding address. His cryptocurrency seminars had been canceled, his social media accounts deleted, and his apartment cleaned out in the middle of the night. Turns out that con artists don't like it when someone shines a light on their operations. Who knew? But Sam wasn't going down without a fight. Her new lawyer had filed counter motions, demanding spousal support, claiming that I'd been financially controlling throughout our marriage, arguing that her affair was the result of emotional neglect and that she deserved compensation for 18 years of unpaid domestic labor. It was a creative argument, I'd give her that. Too bad it was built on a foundation of lies that I could demolish with a few mouse clicks. The hearing was scheduled for a Thursday morning in family court, the kind of sterile government building where dreams go to die and lawyers get rich. I arrived early, wearing my best suit and carrying a briefcase full of evidence that would have made a prosecutor weep with joy. Sam was already there with her shark lawyer, a thin man in an expensive suit who looked like he'd never done an honest day's work in his life. She'd dressed for battle, too. Conservative business attire, minimal makeup, the perfect picture of a wronged wife seeking justice. Too bad for her that I knew exactly what she really was. Your Honor, her lawyer began when we were called before the judge. My client has been the victim of financial abuse throughout this marriage. Mr. Morrison controlled all the accounts, made all the financial decisions, and left my client completely dependent on his goodwill. When she finally found the courage to seek emotional support elsewhere, he retaliated by freezing her access to marital funds and filing for divorce. It was a good performance. If I didn't know better, I might have almost believed it myself. Mr. Morrison, the judge said, how do you respond to these allegations? I stood up, opened my briefcase, and pulled out a thick folder of documents. Your Honor, I'd like to present evidence that tells a very different story. What followed was the most satisfying hour of my life. Bank records showing Sam's unauthorized transfers to fund her affair. Credit card statements documenting her secret spending on hotels, restaurants, and gifts for her boyfriend. Screenshots of text messages where she bragged about planning to take Jake to the cleaners in divorce court. But the real bombshell was the evidence I'd gathered about her boyfriend's criminal activities and her knowledge of them. Text messages where Sam discussed Matt's business opportunities and her plans to invest our money in his cryptocurrency scam. Photos of them at his fake investment seminars. Documentation that she'd been planning to use our retirement savings to fund his fraudulent operation. Your Honor, I said, this wasn't a case of a neglected wife seeking emotional support. This was a calculated plan to defraud me of my assets while carrying on an affair with a known con artist. My wife wasn't a victim. She was a co-conspirator. Sam's lawyer tried to object, tried to argue that the evidence was inadmissible, tried to claim that I'd obtained it illegally. But family court has different rules than criminal court, and judges don't like being lied to. Mrs. Morrison, the judge said, fixing Sam with a stare that could have melted steel. Did you or did you not transfer funds from joint marital accounts to support an extramarital relationship? Sam looked at her lawyer, who nodded grimly. Yes, Your Honor, but... And did you or did you not plan to use marital assets to invest in your paramour's business ventures? Your Honor, I was emotionally vulnerable. That's not what I asked you, Mrs. Morrison. Did you or did you not plan to invest marital funds in what you now know was a fraudulent cryptocurrency scheme? Sam's composure finally cracked. Yes, but I didn't know it was fraudulent at the time. But you did know that you were using your husband's money to benefit your boyfriend, correct? Yes. The judge made some notes, then looked up at both of us. I've seen enough. Mrs. Morrison, your claims of financial abuse are not supported by the evidence. In fact, the evidence suggests that you were the one engaging in financial misconduct. Mr. Morrison's request for asset protection is granted. Sam's lawyer tried one last desperate gambit. Your Honor, my client is entitled to spousal support. Not in this state, counselor. Not when the requesting spouse committed adultery and financial misconduct. Mrs. Morrison will receive exactly what she's entitled to under the law, her personal property and her share of assets that weren't dissipated through her extramarital activities. It was over. 18 years of marriage ended in a courtroom with the sound of a gavel and the sight of my wife's face crumpling in defeat. Outside the courthouse, Sam caught up with me as I was walking to my car. "Jake, please," she said, and for the first time in months, she sounded like the woman I'd married instead of the stranger she'd become. "We can work this out. We don't have to let lawyers destroy everything we built together." "We didn't destroy it, Sam," I said. "You did. When you decided that I wasn't enough, that our marriage wasn't enough, that our family wasn't worth preserving. I made a mistake. You made a choice," I corrected. "You made dozens of choices over months to lie to me, cheat on me, and steal from me. Those weren't mistakes. They were decisions. What about Emily? What about our family? Emily's fine. She's living with me, getting ready for college, and learning that actions have consequences. As for our family," I shrugged. "You should have thought about that before you decided to blow it up." Sam stared at me for a long moment, probably seeing me clearly for the first time in years. "I never thought you'd fight back." "I know," I said. "That was your mistake." I got in my car and drove away, leaving her standing on the courthouse steps in her expensive suit, probably wondering how the woman who'd planned to take me to the cleaners had ended up with nothing but a legal bill she couldn't afford. 6 months later, I was sitting in my workshop, fixing a laptop for a grateful customer, when Emily came in with her college acceptance letters. "Dad, I got